And so to kick us off, we're going back to where it all began. Our next speaker is a visionary leader and serial entrepreneur, a man whose commitment to social change is truly inspiring. So please welcome, on behalf of his fellow co-founders, Dawid, co-founder, board trustee of 10,000 Interns.
Wow, this is unbelievable. It's beautiful. I see you, 10K. How are you doing? Yeah, amazing, amazing. You know, there are moments in life when you just have to stop and catch your breath because what's happening is so extraordinary, so incredible that it just blows you away. And tonight is one of those moments. Just an extraordinary thing to be here. It's just so beautiful to look out and see all of you. I'm so proud to be here with all of you. But you know, 10 years ago, let me take you back. 10 years ago, we were haunted by a single statistic that out of 3,000 men and women who manage money in the asset management industry, just 12 were of black heritage. And it was a pretty stark statistic and one that we tried to do something about. We had various strategies, various ideas, but whatever we tried didn't work. And it was, if I'm honest with you, it was heartbreaking. And then something happened in June of 2020, a piece of magic. And I remember I was in my kitchen and I received a WhatsApp from a great friend of mine, Jonathan Sorrell. And he asked this question. He sent it to me, he sent it to Walker Lade, he sent it to Michael Barrington-Hibbett, the initial co-founders. And it simply said this: what if we were to ask 10 chief executives in the asset management industry if they would offer a paid 6-week internship to an undergraduate of black heritage? Maybe, he said, maybe that would start to move the needle. They didn't need to offer a job, but all they needed to do was to inspire and to expand their horizons. Maybe, he said, maybe that would move the needle. And we thought it was a brilliant idea. We thought it was fantastically, it was clever in its simplicity. But the question was whether we could do it. Were we actually allowed to do it? And so we asked the lawyers to take a look. And they came back to us and they said, absolutely. They said under the provisions of, I think it was section 158 and 159 of the Equality Act 2010, you can absolutely offer internships and training to particular people, to groups of people that you think are underrepresented, that you believe are underrepresented in your organization. So we had the green light and we started making calls. And we thought if just 5 chief executives say yes, maybe the needle will start to move. Maybe we'll go from 12 to 13 to 14. And an extraordinary thing happened. We called the 5, we called the 10, we called 15, and they all said yes. We got to 20, we got to 50, we got to 100, they still kept saying yes. And we got to 200. And in that first year, we had 214 chief executives who said, we'll give an internship. And we ended up with 501 internships in that very first year. It was extraordinary. It was incredible. Yeah. And then an even more extraordinary thing happened. The phone started ringing in the other direction. And first of all, it was the pharmaceutical companies. Then it was the lawyers. Then it was the accountants. Then it was big tech. And they said, you know what, we have the same issue in our industry. Is there any way that you could come and run your program where we are in our space? And then we had a BHAG. You know, BHAG, a big, hairy, audacious goal. Everyone should have one of those. Say, turn to your neighbor, say, what's your BHAG? Say, what's your BHAG? Yeah, what's your BHAG? Well, we had this BHAG. And we had this BHAG and we said, you know what? If we could have 100 internships in 20 different sectors, that would be 2,000 internships in 1 year. And if we did that for 5 years, then maybe by October 2025, we'd have 10,000 internships. We thought, is that possible? We don't know. But here we are. It's October, it's 2025. And we've got 10,000. I see you, 10,000. I see you out there. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. And under the incredible leadership of Rebecca Achieng-Ajulu-Bushell. Give Rebecca a round of applause and her team. Yeah, let's hear it. Yeah, what a team. Here we are. It's a beautiful thing. And let me tell you this. You know, I only really realized how powerful this program was about a year in. We gathered the first cohort together at a venue in Marylebone. Were you there at that first gathering? If you were, give us a shout. But I think a lot of you were there. And we got everyone together and we basically said, just come together for a time of enjoyment and a time of, there was chemistry, there was so much fulfillment. It was incredible. And at that evening, someone came up to me and he said, can I tell you my story? And I said, look, I've really got to go. I've got to catch my train. I'm going to miss it. I'm going to end up sleeping at the station. It's not going to be good. And he said, please, please, let me tell you my story. I said, okay. He seemed quite emotional. And he told me his story, and this was his story. He said, I was a student in the northeast of England. I was heading for a first-class degree. It was 2 weeks to go before my finals. And he said, I'd sent out all these applications, and I got nothing back, nothing. I'd just been rejection after rejection. And he said, my dad called me. I was walking one evening back to my room. My dad called me and said, how's it going? And I said, Dad, I'm really in trouble here. My mental health is bad. I'm so depressed. And his dad said, well, don't give up. It'll be okay. And he said, Dad, I don't think it will. And he said, I hung up. And he said, I walked back, and I just, I was in tears. And then he said, my phone went, and it was my best friend. And he said, have you seen this program? There's a program out, and there's some asset managers, and they're interested in talking to people like you and me. And he said, well, what's the point? I've had all these rejections. And his friend said, just try. And the problem was it was closing that evening. But he said he went back to his room and he sent it off, and with 5 minutes to go, he got his CV in, and he told me, he said, you know what? He said, I had 3 interviews. He said, I got an internship. And he said, now I've got a job at an asset management firm. He said, I'm so grateful. Thank you. Thank you so much to the co-founders, the guys who set this up. And he said, let me tell you this. And this was what I found extraordinary. He said, I honestly think that this program saved my life. And it was in that moment that I realized how big and powerful this program really, really was. That it was a mission more than just a program. And the world is a better place for all those 1,312 organizations who've opened their doors and have said to our interns and to our students over the 5 years, there is a place for you alongside everyone else sitting at our table. And in this world that seems now to be losing its way, to be closing its doors and to be saying there's no room here, those organizations, you are beacons of light. Because if you had not opened your doors, where would our interns have gone? Where would they have gone? Let me ask you that. Let me ask you that question. But because of you, they've got internships. Because of you, they've got a future. And interns, let me say to you, alumni, because you're no longer interns, alumni, let me say to you, lift as you climb. Please, lift as you climb. Because as you're climbing a mountain, and I know that the mountain is steep, and it's cold, it's dark, it's windy, and rents are unaffordable, and jobs are almost impossible to find, and the world is difficult to navigate, and you are climbing a mountain. It's as much as you can do to hold on with both hands, but if you can, reach down with one hand and lift up someone else who's struggling more than you are, and you will see when you get to the top how incredible the view will be, because it will not just be you up there, but will be all the people that you lifted and all the people that they lifted as well. Lift as you climb, my friends. And to all the organizations out there who are supporting us and who will go on to support us, we thank you from the bottom of our hearts. What you've done is incredible, because what you have done is to enable all these young people to go on and to do great things. They will go on to change the world. They will go on to lift as they climb. And in a world where they can be anything, they will be kind. Thank you.